Hello, my name is Guadalupe Diaz, and I'll be going over my ESL lesson plan. So, the lesson overview or a quick introduction is that I'll be focusing on grades 6 through 8, which is typically middle school. I'll be focusing on intermediate English proficiency level, and it'll take about two 55-minute class periods. The grammar target that I'll be focusing on will be regular past tense ed verb, so adding ed to a word afterwards to make it past tense. And the SCG that I chose for this will be number 13, which is climate action. The targeted learners and grammar challenges that I'll be discussing it will have to be Spanish speaking English learners, which are for middle school, typically fall under ages 12 to 14. And like I mentioned, it will be in an intermediate ESL classroom. Some of the common challenges that we might face through this is that students miss ed endings, so they might mispronounce or they might miss whenever a word ends in ed. The pronunciation differences create confusion. So sometimes you do mention ed, sometimes you don't. So it can cause confusion within students. Learners will also rely on words like yesterday instead of verb endings. So instead of using ed, students will just automatically tend to follow other words like yesterday, in the past, etc. And slide number 4, we have processing introduction overview. So what is PI? Some of the key ideas will have to be the focus on input rather than output. Input should be before output. So meaning comes first. Students process grammar through communication. So through communication, students will be learning more about grammar, picking up on the rules a little bit more through interactions. Avoids memorization and drill, so they're not tied down to just memorization and rules rather than conversations and engagement. My SDG integration, like I mentioned, I'll be focusing on SDG number 13, which is climate action. Some of the environmental topics can include recycling, cleaning parks, planting trees, and reducing pollution. Students connect grammar learning to real-world environmental actions. So by using SDG number 13, they'll be learning more about what they did throughout this section. So my input activity number 1, which is referential structured input, is called Did It Happen in the Past? So student task, it will have to be the students read sentences and identify whether the action happened in the past, present, or future. Some example sentences that students might see throughout this activity can be the students recycle plastic bottles or the volunteers clean the beach. So why does it support PI? Students must pay attention to the ed ending to understand the meaning. So throughout the readings and throughout the ed verbs that they encounter, they'll be picking up on meanings and the different ways that they can be used. Second, we have input activities number 2 and 3, referential listening activity and our affective structured input. In here, we have for the referential listening activity, it is called Who Helped the Environment. The student task is students listen to sentences and match them to pictures or images or overall just match them. We have example sentences in the bottom. Third, we have what did you think? And this is a student um, reading statements and sharing personal opinions. Some of these examples or sentence starters might be: my family recycled more this week, the community center planted trees near my house, or I volunteered at the garden for a school project. So why this supports PI? Well, students will still remain focused on comprehension, and it will also encourage personal engagement. We also have output activities, guided output activities. Um, so we have information gap interview. Here we have students will interview each other about environmental actions. Um, some of the project options that they have will have short essays, posters, light shows, pamphlets, and presentations. Some of the requirements is that they'll be using at least five regular past tense ed verbs, and they'll make connections dealing with environmental concern. Finally, we have some materials that we're going to be using throughout these activities will be worksheets, sentence cards, listening prompts, interview sheets, and visual aids, as well as our interview sheet. Some benefits from this is that they'll encourage meaningful communication, it'll strengthen grammar communication as well, and it'll connect English learning to real world issues. Some of my main takeaways will be: processing instruction prioritizes comprehension before production. Structure input helps students notice grammatical forms, and the ESG theme that we picked out creates meaningful communication opportunities. These are my works I did, and that'll be all for today. Thank you.